closer?
No, nothing really right now.
What's it come down to? Being competitive, money? What are you looking for your next chapter?
I don't think money's ever been the objective or ever been the issue. Obviously, I know where the sports landscape is. I know what's happening, and the talk from my side was that I know there needs to be concessions made, and to race for under my market value, and I've accepted that and have told everybody that, and just trying to see where all that lies.
Did you talk to anybody else at Pocono? Any other teams while you were there?
Every week we're talking to somebody, yes.
Do you have any more or less confidence this week whether you'll be back at JGR than a week ago?
No, I would say no more or less. They haven't necessarily put a drop-dead date on it for when the unicorn shows up if something happens.
You have your own drop-dead date, Kyle?
I don't have one right now at this particular moment.
Do you feel you were wronged with the penalty? Or with the DQ?
I mean, it's excessive for what it was, but I get the process of this car and making sure, the example is out there, and they did the same thing with Brad's team and the 34 team, which I'm not sure what those instances were, but I don't know exactly how our process happened where that piece of tape got on there, but it was unfortunate in the end result.
Have you talked to Kurt?
I have.
How's he doing? How's he handling all this?
Kurt's doing well. He's certainly getting better. I definitely wish him a safe and speedy recovery. Obviously we all want him to be able to do what he loves to do, and that's to be out there on Sunday racing his race car.
You think these cars are a little bit brutal with the kind of impacts that they're taking? I mean, more rigid than the previous car?
Fortunately for me, knock on wood, I haven't necessarily felt too much of a difference between the two cars. I think my biggest hit this year, can't remember if it was on a super speedway, but also the qualifying crash at Nashville, and it wasn't too terrible. But people will look at the incidents and say, oh, that doesn't look too bad because the car, holds its shape way better, which means it's more rigid and it's stiffer. And, you look at the incident last week at Pocono with the 18 Xfinity car backing in the fence in the race, and it crushed all the way back to the rear tires, you know what I mean? And Kurt's hit was relatively similar to that, and the back of the car didn't even budge, so the brunt of that has to go somewhere.
Are you optimistic that Kurt might be back at Michigan?
I'm not going to speculate, and I'm not going to say for those guys. I can't do that.
You said that the penalties were excessive. So by your estimation, what kind of advantage do you think was gained by the tape at Pocono?
Minimal, if anything. You go back there and run that race tomorrow, and we run the same way.
So just a few counts of downforce? Is that what we're talking?
Either that or drag, whichever, yeah.
And I understand, talking to teams, are you willing to specify what teams you're talking to? Because there's only a few that really have openings.
Not right now.
Okay.
Have you sort of kind of accept that maybe you might have to leave Joe Gibbs Racing and get what you want?
Well, I think you missed the beginning part. You're a little late, but you talk about what you want, and I think you're insinuating that I'm asking for the sky on salary or something like that, and I've already admitted that I'm willing to take concessions. I feel like the market is different than what it was years ago, and willing to race for under my market value. So whatever that comes to be, obviously it's a negotiation and figuring out where I go and what the long-term play is, what the short-term play is, and hopefully not being able to go through this again.
Are you willing to do a bridge deal? Like a one-year deal and then sign a longer deal in 23 for beyond?
Yeah, I mean, anything's on the table. We're talking 23 options, we're talking 24 options, we're talking long-term, we're everything. So the whiteboard is quite full.
Does KBM give you bargaining power?
Sorry?
Are you feeling wanted by Joe Gibbs Racing? I mean, you're willing to make concessions and say, and this isn't done. I'm wondering if that, how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? That you got to have sponsorship in this sport to be able to go forward. I mean, it's not as simple as being a basketball player and being a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James or something like that, and being a really good player and the team losing a sponsor and then saying, okay, Michael, LeBron, you guys, we got to let you go because we can't afford you. You know what I mean? So again, you have to have some sponsorship on that car, and unfortunately right now there's not that unicorn. There's not that big $20 million number out there. So I'd like to be able to piece it together, but haven't heard much on that yet either.
Does KBM give you bargaining power? Because, I mean, it is the, flagship truck program for Toyota.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I would like to think that it does, but also it could be a burden and a little bit of a headache where some other teams you talk to, they don't want to carry the burden of that. They don't want to have anything to do with it. So, that's a frustration too. And like I said last week, I'll say it again. There's 50 families over there that are important to me, that we keep that thing going as best as I possibly can. Obviously, I have to look out for myself and my family's future, but also all of them.
How stressful has this whole process been for you?
There are a lot of sleepless nights.
We're going back to Richmond with this car. To have a notebook and going back to that track, does that help with this new car, trying to figure things out?
Going back to what now?
Richmond.
Oh, Richmond.
With the, having already raced there and having a notebook.
I think that definitely helps. I think that's, where you look at the things that you did well in a previous race at a particular track. You make slight adjustments to it and whatnot. And again, you don't have practice like you used to, so it's not like you have ideas that you can sling at it while you're doing practice. You literally unload with what you're going to race, and so you can only tweak it.
What's your personal grade for how this car's performed through 21 races?
I mean, as far as the craziness of the results and things like that, and the ups and downs that all the drivers have gone through, all the teams have gone through with their results, is certainly divvied up the field, and have kind of let a lot of unknowns going week to week kind of happen. So, you look at the Toyota guys, JGR guys, 2311 guys, where we have strength at 1.5 mile style places, but we are horrible at road racing. So, there's other guys that flip that. And so it's just trying to work our way through those situations and make our cars better in the areas that we have deficits.
In talking to other organizations, have you talked to any about ownership, potential ownership, kind of like what Brad has at RFK?
Not yet.
The 18 team, do you talk about the future with them, with Bayshore, about things being uncertain beyond the season, or are you guys just able to compartmentalize and just focus on future?
Yeah, we've just been putting our head down in the books and trying to keep working and keep going at what we know, what we're good at, and so we have not spoken about the uncertainties.
Kyle, I couldn't get in here. I was over there, but I want to ask you. A lot of people have been talking about where you might go or what you might do, and you hear a lot of rumors, and they've put you everywhere, right? When you hear that, you get a kick out of it. I mean, what do you think? Are there any you can scratch off the list? Yeah,
no, you definitely get a kick out of it. It's kind of funny because there's actually some ideas thrown that I haven't thought of. So you're like, I might want to explore that one. But obviously, it's just it's a mess right now, and so just trying to sort through it all at the best I can. And really, there's a lot of factors that go into this, and really, I don't want to be going through this. My first option, my first goal, my first set is to be at Joe Gibbs Racing and stay with Toyota and have nothing change, but that unicorn hasn't fallen out of the sky for $20 million or whatever it is, and I don't think it needs to be that number, because obviously there's a number in that then pays a driver, and I've already said that I'm willing to take concessions and race for under my market value and go forward in being able to stay in the seat that I've made home for the last 15 years.
It seems like it's going back and forth. Like at one point you sounded like, well, I might go, and now you're like, I'd like to stay there. Coach Gibbs in Victory Lane last week told me, we'd like to keep him, and he said no. Ty Gibbs, he's got his own deal. There's a lot of people thinking because he's been filling in that means if he does well in a couple of races that that changes it. He said no. So all of that's going back and forth. Is it changing back and forth that quickly?
No, I don't think it's changed back and forth, Claire. I think if you go back and read the last 3 or 4 weeks of quotes from me, I feel as though I've said and will continue to say my first goal is to stay at Joe Gibbs Racing, but if the musical chairs music stops and I'm still standing and I don't have a seat, I'm screwed. So I have to make sure that I continue to talk and evaluate each place and each situation to find something.
When it comes to Kurt, do you have any concern? When it comes to Kurt, are you concerned? Is it accumulative hits? He's had a lot of hard hits this year. Are you aware, is his concussion symptoms from multiple hits or just that one hit?